866-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, a little before dark tonight, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock with you here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. I'm the Hacker, Ryan Green. We are glad you are spending part of your Friday evening with us to close out the week. And what a week it has been. The NCAA tournament resumes tonight. Great games last night, with the exception of UConn boat racing San Diego State. Everything else was phenomenal, including Alabama beating North Carolina, Clemson knocking off Arizona, and just like everybody had, we have Alabama and Clemson in Los Angeles, California on Saturday night, with the winner going to the Final Four. The NBA playoffs are 2.5 weeks away. Big-time games in the NBA. That UFL, is that what it's called, Denmark? I think the UFL starts this week.
Sounds right.
The XFL and the USFL, I guess, merged, and now it's the UFL. So you actually have football this weekend. I'll check it out. Why not? I'll watch a little bit of it. But obviously, we're going to talk a lot of Jaguars, a lot of Foye Oluokun, and yes, a lot of Trent Baalke. Boy, that was interesting this afternoon. Every time I put something on social media, why does it always have to turn into a bizarre, just brush fire of negative comments and you're this and you're that? Why can't we just have a civilized, decent conversation? Which is what we're going to try to do tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Guest lineup looks like this. Damian Parson of the Draft Network. We'll talk Jaguars. We'll talk draft. That's in less than 15 minutes. By the way, we haven't really talked a lot this week. Spring football. I mean, Florida, their orange and blue game is 2 weeks from tomorrow. The Gators, the Seminoles, the Hurricanes, all right in the middle of spring football. Mike Huguenin's covered the world of college football for years. He's going to join me later on in the 6 o'clock hour. So Damian Parson of the Draft Network, Mike Huguenin talking college ball, both coming up prior to 7 o'clock. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So, Foye Oluokun gets a contract extension, well-deserved. Was brought in here by Trent Baalke as a free agent 2 years ago, has been nothing short of very good, if not great at times. Exactly what this defense needed as one of the league leaders in tackles in the National Football League, a team captain voted on by his teammates. Well-deserved. Foye gets 3 more years here, gives the Jaguars some salary cap relief as well to maybe, potentially, get something done with Josh Allen in the very near future. And that's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about the Jaguars making a good free agent signing and rewarding that good free agent signing by giving him a contract extension. But no, that's not what happened today. That's not what happened. I go back to this, and I will say this every time a situation like this arises, because today it was very apparent, what I've been saying now for quite some time. It does not matter for some of you what Trent Baalke does. It doesn't. You're past the point of no return, and you will find flaw with anything that man does. He could go outside and say it's sunny, sky is blue, and you'll say, nope. Sky isn't blue, not necessarily. It just looks that way with the solar system. You'd find some flaw with it. He can look over there and say, you know what, that grass is green. Some of you will be like, nope, it's not. we got to talk about something else because if the grass is not green, you're wrong. Your thoughts are wrong on that. It doesn't matter what he does. Doesn't matter what he says. Trent Baalke brought Foye Oluokun in here. It was a good signing 2 years ago. Turned out to be a great signing. Gives him a contract extension. And that tweet wasn't sent out for 5 minutes before negative people had to chime in saying, oh, no, that means Chad Muma was a terrible pick. Give Foye an extension. That means Muma was an awful pick. What are we doing? What's Baalke doing? He's awful. He can't draft for anything. Just terrible. Why? Why couldn't you give it a couple of hours to enjoy the fact that you gave a contract extension to a good player, a player that, by the way, most of you did not want? Remember that? Who's Foye Oluokun? Why are we cutting Miles Jack? Well, that was a good move, right, by Trent Baalke. Ooh, I said it. That was a good move by Trent Baalke. But you couldn't even enjoy the contract extension today for Foye. Some of you couldn't. I don't want to lump everybody in, but the ones I at least saw on social media. And no, I'm not. You're not going to try to stir anything up with me and anybody else in the media here. That's not who I'm talking about. I respect everybody else in the media. And in fact, a couple of guys I had some good banter with today on social media about it. I'm talking about the fan base. And most importantly, the fan base, those of you that were coming after me about my thoughts on Baalke. That man inherited a dumpster fire. That man inherited a roster that was put together by Dave Caldwell, who will go down as probably one of, if not the worst general managers in NFL history. And in 3 years, that man Trent Baalke, who inherited that awful, hideous roster from Dave Caldwell, went from 3 wins in 2021 to 18 wins and 19 if you include the playoff game in 22 and 23. It's what he's done. That's factual. You can't argue that. You might hate Baalke and you might think Baalke's terrible, but you can't argue that they had 3 wins in year 1 with the roster he had to take over from Caldwell, and that they've won 19 games, including a playoff win in the last 2 seasons. You can argue a lot. You can't argue that. Those are facts. All right? Now, I'm not saying Chad Muma wasn't a bad pick, and this is nothing against Chad Muma. Chad Muma, as a third rounder, you would like to see a more productive player, a player that can get on the field and help you, drafted in round 3. I agree with that. That wasn't my point today. My point wasn't defending Baalke for the pick. My point was, if you're going to crush him about things like that, at least take 10 minutes to say, job well done on Foye Oluokun. But some of you could not do that. Some of you just want to be negative. And maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's I'm getting older, because I always used to be the negative guy. I was really negative. Some of you have called me out many times over the years for being too negative. So I don't know why I'm reversing roles and being an ultra-positive guy. I'm not saying Trent Baalke should be general manager of the year. I'm not saying Trent Baalke deserves a medal. What I'm saying is those of you that have made Trent Baalke out to be the worst general manager on planet Earth, you're not correct in my opinion. He is far from the worst general manager. In fact, he is head and shoulders better than Dave Caldwell ever was. And I think you could argue he was probably head and shoulders already better than Shaq Harris ever was. And Gene Smith, are you kidding me, man? Trent Baalke is light years away and better from what Gene Smith was. Trent Baalke's the best GM this team has had in 20 years. Now, does that make him a good GM? Not necessarily. I do have issues with some of the things he's done, particularly in the draft. But those of you that just find flaw with everything and every move that he does, it should be a good day. You re-sign Oluokun. Things are looking good. You get your middle linebacker, your defensive captain back. He's happy. League leader in tackles. That's all wonderful. Nope. That means Chad Muma was a terrible pick, a third-round pick in 2022. And the only thing that I can think of or one of the things I thought of today, is maybe this franchise has just constantly beat you over the head to where it's irreparable damage. It just can't be fixed. You got to find the negative in everything, right? I brought up the fact that Balky went from 3 wins to 19 wins and 21 to 22 and 23, and then you brought up the collapse. Okay, fair. I brought up Oluwakin being a great free agent signing, but you had to bring up Muma. And awful pick in round 3. Again, not against Chad, just a position that was drafted. You just can't take time to appreciate the job that Trent Baalke has done. Do I think he's drafted well? No, I don't. At all. Do I think he's signed good free agents? He's signed better free agents than he has drafted. But this roster in 2024, compared to where it was 25 months ago, February of 2022, it's night and day. I mean, it is absolutely night and day. You can't argue that. That means Trent Baalke has done a good job with certain aspects as the Jaguar general manager. And that does not mean that I'm going to give him a medal. Again, for the life of me, you can't compliment the guy without thinking, what did they say today? I was president of the Trent Baalke fan club. I don't think that exists, but if, I guess I can submit my application because I seem to think he's done a better job than most. And no, I'm not on. I love this one too, Denmark. Oh, well, you're on the Jaguar payroll. I wish I was on the Jaguar payroll. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't have any issue if I was on the Jaguar payroll, but believe me, I am not. Oh, you work for the official Jaguar station. The Jaguars have never once called me or my boss man to tell me what to say about Trent Baalke. Never once. I agree with Urban. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the situation is this. I like to call it the way I see it. And the way I see it when it comes to Jaguar general manager Trent Baalke is this roster vastly improved from where it was this time 2 years ago. This roster has signed good free agents like Foye Oluwakin, who got extended today. He's also had some draft picks that have missed. Luke Fortner appears to be a miss. The selection of Chad Muma, not the player, but the position, seems to be a miss. I'm not arguing that. I'm not debating that. You're right to question Baalke when it comes to the draft. Where you lose me is on a day like today when we should be celebrating the job that Baalke did in bringing in Oluwakin, sending Miles Jack down the road, which many of you were against 2 years ago. And when Oluwakin does a good job, leads the team in tackles 2 years in a row, is a defensive team captain, gets a brand new 3-year deal, you can't take 15 minutes out to pat Baalke on the back. You immediately go to Chad Muma was a bad pick in round 3, pick 70 in 2022 or whatever it was. Give me a break, man. Enjoy the good. This was a 1-win team in 2020. It was a 3-win team in 2021. Remember what all of you said? Oh, I just want to play competitive games in December. That's all I want. I just want to be competitive in December, have a shot at the playoffs, be on that graphic, in the hunt. I don't need to be on the left side of the playoff bracket. I want to be on the right side. Just get me in the hunt. Well, guess what? Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson have gotten you on that graphic for the last 2 years. And yeah, the collapse sucked, absolutely. But there has been some positive, too. It has not all been negative. And just don't lose sight of that. Tip your cap to the guy, or at least take 10 minutes to not destroy him for bad things when things like today with Foye Oluwakin happen. Now I'll get off my high horse, and we'll talk Jaguar draft. Damian Parson of the Draft Network. What is the offseason for the Jaguars? Free agency. What does all of it mean when it comes to the draft coming up in now 27 days? Wide receiver, defensive back, you think those two are pretty high priorities. I do as well. We'll talk to Damian Parson of the Draft Network about that and more when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It is a Friday evening in Jacksonville, Florida, and we're glad you're with us right here. It's Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
No, I like baseball. I just never understood how you guys can spend so much time discussing it. I mean, I've been to games, but I don't memorize who played third base for Pittsburgh in 1960.
Don Hope. Beat you.
1010XL.
See, that's exactly what I mean.
Hacker here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. That company, that program has absolutely changed my life in less than 6 weeks. I'm down 35 plus pounds. 35 pounds. You know, normally I put a picture on social media and I'll get, thoughts on my weight in negative connotation. Not today. I put a picture of social media of me and Little Hack doing Easter eggs. I got a lot of compliments. Why? Because with Awaken 180 Weight Loss, I'm down 35 plus pounds. It is the best weight loss program I've ever been on. It was time for me to lose weight. If it's time for you to lose weight, take it from somebody that's going through the program right now. It's the best thing you'll ever do. Awaken180weightloss.com, Awaken180weightloss.com, or call them at 844-346-1800. That's 844-346-1800. Trust me when I tell you, it works. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Did you hear what's happening? Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet are spring cleaning. New inventory on the ground means we need to make more room. Take advantage of huge savings on thousands of vehicles priced to sell. New and pre-owned prices have been reduced and all sales associates have been instructed to give maximum value on all trades. But you better hurry, the best deals go first. Head to Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville to take advantage of our spring cleaning sale. We're here to wow you.
Top Dog Tavern is your gathering place for family and friends, offering something for everyone. Want a delicious meal served with a smile? We have you covered. Shareable appetizers, hot and crispy wings, juicy tavern burgers, fresh salads, plus a large craft beer selection. And there is nowhere better to watch all the big games than on our multiple TVs. Enjoy great food, cold drinks, and good times at Top Dog Tavern, located in Bartram Park off Old St. Augustine Road.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
Hey, Hicken here. You know I'm a hometown guy. There's nothing like home in Jacksonville, Florida. What a great place to live. Spring is here and everything is green and blooming. But that means I'll have to cut the lawn soon. It also means that we'll need to do some deep cleaning inside the house. That's where Zero Res comes in. Zero Res can clean your tile grout, your carpets, your area rug, furniture, and more. Right now, they're offering 25% off tile and grout cleaning. Zero Res, man, spelling forwards or backwards. The right way to clean.
Zero Res.
We don't have too many cold nights on the First Coast, but when the temperature drops, you want to hit the heat button and warm up. That's where Florida Home comes in. They're the AC experts in Jacksonville, and the importance of keeping your heating system in good working order is really important. If it stops working when it gets cooler, Florida Home will leap into action and provide you with the best solution. Heater and heat pump repair service and new system installation. They do it all. Just call Florida Home AC at 777-4300, the official heating and AC partner of the Jaguars.
Get closer to nature.
I'm Jeff Logman with Captain Kevin and Captain Kirk. We take you from the water to the woods.
The Nimnicht Outdoor Show, presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing and Septic Services, 7 to 10 every Saturday morning on 1010XL.
It's back, the biggest jewelry sale of the year. Buy one, get one at Beard's Diamonds.
No other jewelry store in North Florida can match it. Buy any band and get the other one free.
The whole month of April.
Beard's Diamonds will beat any competitor's price.
At the St. John's Town Center.
You know what happens when a smart group of medical professionals get together and commit to a technology designed to relieve your aching joints without surgery? It's called QC Kinetics.
And this guy knows the power of a solid team. Emmitt Smith, football legend and Dancing with the Stars champ.
This elite medical group, some of them orthopedic doctors, got together and said, why are we prescribing so many medications? Why are we sending so many people to surgery in droves? Let's change this.
The answer? Natural biologics, our own healing properties. And the outcome is the country's largest provider of non-surgical regenerative treatments, QC Kinetics.
Actually, the real outcome are the tens of thousands of patients who finally got their quality of life back without surgery, thanks to QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Joe C. for CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. They can transform your backyard with fire pits, pergolas, screen enclosures, and outdoor kitchens. And CSS handles the entire project from start to finish. You dream it, they build it. CSSOutdoor.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Free agency all but in the rearview mirror. All eyes are now turning to the NFL draft next month in Detroit. In fact, we're less than a month away now from the draft. And boy, the Jaguars are one of the most active teams in free agency. What exactly does that mean when it comes to pick 17 and pick 49 in next month's NFL draft? With that, Damian Parson of the Draft Network does a terrific job covering the NFL draft, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Damian, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Damian, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. And before we get into the draft and your thoughts on the Jaguars, just a quick thought from you. They lose Ridley, obviously, which was the big story, but Mitch Morse, Gabe Davis, Eric Armstead, Darnell Savage, among others. What did you make of what the Jaguars were able to do in free agency?
Oh, man, I think they attacked free agency with a very calculated intent. Getting a center, a position that they needed to improve just in terms of competition and actual talent of and depth of. I think getting Mitch Morse was a good get. Gabe Davis being kind of a big body receiver and losing Calvin Ridley being the explosive, versatile route runner that he is. Gabe Davis kind of fits what Trevor always has thrived with, which is a big body receiver on the outside. So I think bringing his big playability and big playmaking to this offense was a good move. They didn't overpay or anything like that. I think that what he got signed for was a good value as well. I love getting Eric Armstead, bringing some run and pass versatility to the interior defensive line. Especially with having the versatile pieces like a Trayvon Walker who could play edge, play 3-tech D tackle on passing downs. That it kind of opens them up to some more versatile, creative packages to get after the litany of quarterbacks that, with the C.J. Strouds, the Anthony Richardsons, the Will Levises of the world, those guys being in that division. I like what they did and what they brought in, especially, like I said, on the line, getting another receiver, but also on the defensive line as well.
Damian, the thought here in Jacksonville post-free agency is that corner and wide receiver are the two biggest needs as we enter draft season, or less than a month away. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I think corner and wide receiver still big-time needs, because when you look at this wide receiver core, you ask yourself, who is the guy that dictates coverage? And I don't see a guy like that on the team. I think depending on how, you use him, getting Christian Kirk healthy definitely helps. Bringing Gabe Davis, he's just not a coverage dictator, So I think being able to, if one of these top-tier type of receivers, which is this is an outstanding class of receivers. When these guys fall to 17, and then you kind of have to have that question of, okay, do I want a Keon Coleman or a Quinyon Mitchell? Do I want to Adonai Mitchell or a Nate Wiggins? Like, which one would you prefer? And I think, honestly, I believe that receiver probably should take precedence because of the fact of, it's been 2 seasons that the Jaguars have not made the playoffs under the 3-year career of Trevor Lawrence. For year 1 was a kind of a disaster with Urban Meyer and everything. Everybody gave him a mulligan, made it to the playoffs in year 2, and then, fell short, lost to, I believe it was the Titans in the final week of the season this past season. So you want to make sure, one, that Trevor is like his confidence is up, right, and his belief in the program and the franchise that hey, they're going to do everything in their power to do right by me and give me everything I need to be successful. And yeah, defense, make sure you complete the defense helps, but this is a good cornerback group as well, so you can absolutely get starting caliber corners second and third round, in my honest opinion. But I would absolutely look at that wide receiver position and go get a difference maker. Go get an impact player at the wide receiver spot that will absolutely make Trevor Lawrence's life a lot easier heading into 2024.
Damian Parson of the Draft Network here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Damian, one of the big names around these parts is Brian Thomas from LSU, the wide receiver, because we know Romeo Duze, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Malik Neighbors will all be gone as the top three wide receivers. Thomas is considered, I guess, at number 4 among many, and a lot of people wonder if he will be there at 17, and if he is, would Jacksonville do that? What's your thought there?
If Brian Thomas Jr. is there, that's a very interesting fit, in a situation where you kind of look at it and say, all right, I like what we could have and what this would bring to the table, bringing that vertical, explosive threat to this offense, get the deep ball going, especially with the two running backs you have in the backfield with Travis Etienne and then Tank Bigsby, who I hope to see a bigger workload for and more trust, and just that next step for him heading into his second year in the league. You want to be able to run the ball, give Trevor Lawrence that play action, and having a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. who could absolutely take the top off with his 4.33 speed. But not just that, he also adds the catch point, right? Being able to high point and attack the ball in flight as it's coming down, not waiting for it, but attacking at its highest point. He would give Trevor Lawrence another big body that he can work, especially in the red zone, the fade game. Put him in the slot. Once you cross into enemy territory, across the 50 into the 40 to 45 range, you can absolutely run that slot fade with him if you get the coverage that you like. His speed, if make a couple plays early in the season, early in preseason, stuff like that. Teams already know. I mean, we have to be on top of our A game and make sure Brian Thomas doesn't beat us over top. Then that opens up space for these tight ends, that you have on the team, as well as Christian Kirk in the middle of the field as a slot machine, and then Gabe Davis. So I think if they were to select him at 17, I wouldn't be mad about it because of the skill set would mesh very well with Trevor Lawrence.
Damian Parson of the Draft Network. Do you have Brian Thomas at number 4 as far as the wide receivers?
No, not right now. I still have, Keon Coleman from Florida State, where a lot of people have soured on a bit. I still have him over him. I think I have Adonai Mitchell over him as well. And I think Xavier. He's like wide receiver like 6 or 7 for me right now. I haven't finalized my grades and everything just yet, but it's just some things I need to see. I want to see from him in terms of route running and consistency in that realm that we did not get a chance to see at LSU. But extremely talented young man with outstanding physical tools and gifts that can develop.
As far as the defensive backs go, Damian, that's the other position. What was interesting earlier this week is Doug Peterson, the Jaguar head coach, came out and said Darnell Savage is going to be the nickel. And that caught a lot of us off guard because we had penciled in, DB at 17. Well, all of a sudden now you got Tyson Campbell, Ronald Darby, and Darnell Savage as your top 3 corners, it appears. And I don't know what your thought is, but to me, does that affect what the Jaguars do as far as the corner at 17?
It shouldn't. To me, it shouldn't, because it's still, even with Campbell, Darby's a great veteran, and I think it was a nice acquisition. It's the same thing with Savage. But I would absolutely still look at corner if the receiver that I want, if I'm in that war room, the receiver we desperately or we feel like will be a great fit is not there at 17, I would absolutely still go corner. I would look at Quinyon, Kool-Aid, McKinstry. I would look at getting that high ceiling potential CB1 caliber guy, Nate Wiggins, depending on what scheme they want to run. They want to run more man-to-man, more zone, quarter coverage. It all depends on what the primary coverage is going to be. But these guys are the guys in this class, especially at the top of the board, athletic, twitchy, ball skills. So like there's at 17, I think the pick of the litter will be there for them because I don't foresee corner coming off the board super early in this first round, especially with tackles, wide receivers, quarterbacks. You know, still got to get the edge rushers in there. So yeah, I think that if the receiver that they desire is not available at 17 for Jacksonville, I would absolutely pivot to corner.
As we begin to wrap up, you know, it appears wide receiver is deeper. At least you hear, you know, wide receivers 4 through 10 are very close together after the top 3. So if wide receiver and corner are the 2 biggest needs, is it your opinion, you know, corner in round 1, wait to get your wide receiver in round 2?
I mean, you can. Yeah, like I said, if the guy that you want isn't there, the guy that you feel like fits what you're looking for in that potential wide receiver 1 role, if that guy's not available, absolutely. You go corner and second round, you can grab a guy like Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, right? Like you look at all the different body types and talent that's in this class, and you 100% feel great about it because there's so much available in terms of this wide receiver group where there's guys that are going to go probably 3rd round that in most drafts would be a 2nd round pick at the wide receiver position. But I feel like with the depth of the class, there's going to be a lot of guys that's going to get pushed down the board because some teams are going to say, hey, you know what? I can wait. I can absolutely wait for someone to take that step or to someone to fall to the 2nd round and go ahead and grab, you know, guys like Jalen Polk from Washington, Jalen McMillan from Washington, Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice. I think absolutely you could wait to round 2 and get yourself a steal.
Damian, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, about the Draft Network and what you guys have coming out on the website in the coming days and weeks.
Scouting report still. We're finishing off our final push towards the draft. Positional rankings, our finalized top 100 will be dropping before the draft as well. And, of course, go check out the YouTube channel. We have a lot of draft content there, breaking down the quarterbacks, you know, Caleb, Drake May, you know, what the Commanders should do at 2, all different, everything like that. So draftnetwork.com as well as the Draft Network on YouTube.
Damian Parson does a terrific job covering the draft for the Draft Network, and he's always kind enough to give us some time here on 1010XL. Damian, appreciate it, man. We'll do it again after the draft. We'll see where the dust settles when it comes to the Jaguars.
Yes, sir.
There you go, Damian Parson of the Draft Network. Always appreciate his time with us here on Hacker After Dark, and that's the one that I'm struggling with. Look, wide receiver, yes, I think there is a need there. It's a very good class of wide receivers. Defensive back as well, although with the revelation this week that Darnell Savage is probably your nickel. You know, can you wait till round 2 to get a corner if you are going into the year with the thought of Tyson Campbell, Ronald Darby, and Darnell Savage as your top 3 defensive backs? The one that I'm struggling with, though, is Jared Verse. If Jared Verse is there at 17, and by the way, I don't believe he is going to be, but I've seen a decent amount of mock drafts that have Jared Verse available at 17. To me, then, it's no question. I mean, if you can have Trayvon Walker, Josh Allen, Eric Armstead, and Jared Verse on your roster, Verse and Walker being on rookie deals for at least 2 more years, are you kidding? I would do that in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Now, is that the position of biggest need for the Jaguars? Probably not. You could argue wide receiver. You could argue DB or more positions of need. So it might be best available at that point. But if Verse is there at 17, I run the card to the podium. I don't believe he's going to be, but I'm surprised at the amount of mock drafts that I've seen that have Verse available at 17. We'll see what happens, but that, to me, is my guy. Assuming he's not there, then I'm probably looking more DB in round 1, wide receiver in round 2, as opposed to the other way around. Speaking of Jared Verse, obviously a former Florida State Seminole, but Florida State lost a lot. They lost 18 what I would call contributors off of last year's roster. They're in the midst of spring football right now. Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes are in the middle of spring football, and the Florida Gators. Billy Napier in Florida. In fact, the orange and blue game is 2 weeks from tomorrow. Florida, Florida State, Miami, spring football in full session. Let's talk about all three. We'll also spend a little time on the Georgia Bulldogs as well. My buddy Mike Huguenin has covered the world of college football for years. The man is a college football encyclopedia. Let's talk Billy Napier. Let's talk Mike Norvell. Let's talk Mario Cristobal and more. That's next. Friday night, Jacksonville, Florida. It's Hacker After Dark, and we're always glad you're with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Now you can watch 1010XL.
Oh, you've worked in television?
No, but I watch a lot of it.
Search 1010XL Video, all one word, on YouTube to watch shows, podcasts, and more.
At Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville, we have over 40 2024 all-electric Cadillac Lyrics in stock.
Take advantage today of 2 awesome incentives.
First, a $7,500 rebate applied to the purchase price directly at signing.
That's a $7,500 rebate with no need to wait for tax time.
And second, a $1,500 credit for a high-speed in-home charger.
Over $9,000 in savings.
Now's the time to drive away in luxury in a brand new all-electric Cadillac Lyric.
Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville, plus tax tag title $899 admin fee and resistol.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Hold on tight because All Pro Roofing is unleashing some electrifying news. Brace yourselves for instant excitement. Instant roof quotes are here. Simply surf over to their website and hit the Instant Roof Quote tab. Boom! That's your ticket to a lightning-fast estimate. Head over to allproroofingllc.com. Click that Instant Roof Quote tab. What are you waiting for? Click on the Instant Roof Quote tab today at allproroofingllc.com.
License number CCC 1327056.
CDC 060138.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $2,100 per ounce and hasn't been at this level in 13 years. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach or book online at monahanjewelry.com.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 29, 1982, UNC beats Georgetown in the NCAA Men's Tournament. Future Hall of Famer James Worthy is MVP.
Get ready to rock your evening with the band Be Easy at Players Grill Mandarin, a high-energy, multi-genre cover band from classic hits to chart toppers. See you at Players Grill Mandarin Friday, April 5th at 8 p.m. Players Grill, where the neighborhood meets.
Attention veterans, if you have a VA loan, you need to listen to this, especially if your current rate is higher than 6.5%. Now is the time to take advantage of the federal government's VA Streamlined Refinance Program. With my friends at Loan Pronto, you can. Go to loanpronto.com. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto has fixed rate APRs in the 5s. You can drop your rate now. Lower your payment with no income documentation and no appraisal. Do it at loanpronto.com. Their all-digital platform makes it easy. They can even cover your closing costs. If you need cash now, Loan Pronto can get you up to 100% of your home value. You can pay off all your credit cards or other debt and save as much as $1,000 a month. Call Loan Pronto now at 904-999-1508 or get a 30-second rate quote at loanpronto.com. Ask about streamlined VA loans, no income doc, and no appraisal. Loan Pronto, 999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, sports fans, this is Hayes Carlyon from MyBookie. If you're still in the hunt for a sports book to call home, bet the nonstop action of the madness with MyBookie. MyBookie is a one-stop shop for all your sports betting and casino needs, complete with a real-life Vegas experience right from the comfort of your phone. Take your viewing experience to the next level with real-time live betting that lets you stream and bet the games right from the MyBookie website. Sign up now and take advantage of a generous welcome bonus on your first deposit all the way up to $1,000. Put in $200, get $300 ready to play instantly using promo code 1010XL. And the fun doesn't stop there. You'll get up-to-the-minute odds, props, and this week's expert predictions to help you decide who to put your money on. The best part about MyBookie, you can bet on anything, anytime, from anywhere. Use promo code 1010XL to secure your welcome bonus today, only with MyBookie.
ET here, and it's time for the Taste of Golf at TPC Sawgrass, April 24th. Join me for fine cuisine from chefs from the top golf clubs in our area, craft cocktails, games, and unique auction items. This is one of the most charitable events in our area. Come network with a sophisticated audience who is passionate about golf and its values, all while impacting the youth in our community. All proceeds benefit First Tee North Florida. For tickets, go to tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
Discover the difference that local expertise makes at First Coast Lighting and Fans. Visit their showroom at the Avenues and browse high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness at First Coast Lighting and Fans.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Spring football going on all over the country, and that includes right here in our area with Florida, Florida State, Miami, and Georgia all getting after it. Spring ball going on in those four locations. Let's talk about all of it with a guy that has forgotten more about college football than I'll probably know. He is an encyclopedia when it comes to the sport. That's my buddy Mike Huguenin. He's covered it for years, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mike, how you doing?
I am doing quite well. It's interesting to be talking football during the height of March Madness. But, yeah, this is, frankly, a very important spring for Florida, Florida State, and Miami for varying reasons.
You know, and when you go to the Gators, Mike, let's begin there. Year 3 for Billy Napier. We know what that schedule is coming down the stretch here when you get into August. Obviously, it's brutal, and we'll have you on plenty of times before then. But in totality, a lot of new players, a lot of new coaches on the staff. What have you made of this offseason so far for the Gators?
Yeah, I think that's why this is such an important spring for Napier. There is a bunch of new guys on staff. They have to get acclimated to each other and to the players, and to, you know, they all came in from different places, so there's an acclimation period. I think that if you look at Florida offensively, there's some potential there. Defensively, I think the biggest issue last year was they were extremely young and the depth was unproven. I think that will be a little bit different this year. But I think offensively, obviously, Mertz comes back. Mertz had a really good season last year. He was third nationally in completion percentage. Florida's offense doesn't really incorporate much of the deep ball. I think that needs to be tweaked. They need to find a go-to receiver this spring. Is that going to be Eugene Wilson? Or is it going to be Shimrei Dikey, the transfer from Wisconsin, who has worked with Mertz before? The offensive line has a new coach in there. That's a gigantic issue as well. But DJ Lagway's there. He has, by all accounts, performed well in spring. He has an incredible number of physical tools. There is a learning curve. Even if you are a five-star quarterback, there's a learning curve to college football. But defensively, there's just, again, a whole bunch to work on. You got to shore up the secondary, shore up the defensive line, and find a pass rusher. Now, I think they did a solid job in the portal. Not great, solid. I think DK is going to be a important addition. I don't think he's going to be as good as Ricky Pearsall was, but I think DK adds a veteran presence to Florida's wide receiver room, something that's needed. And defensively, Pup Howard, the Jacksonville kid coming in to play linebacker, where does he fit in? But this is an important spring. Again, a lot of reasons for Billy Napier.
Mike, is there a hotter seat in the SEC, or for that matter, the country, I guess, than Billy Napier in Gainesville?
I don't think so. I think when you look at what Florida fans expect, you look at the success that the basketball team has had this year with a second-year coach. Florida did not have success in Napier's second year last year on the football field. So I think there is a ton of pressure on Napier. The schedule makes things more difficult. And, heck, 3 of the 4 non-conference games, they're playing Miami in the opener, they're playing UCF, and they're playing FSU in the regular season finale. So 3 in-state opponents. And, I don't care who you're a fan of. If your favorite team loses to an in-state opponent, that does not bode well, I don't think, for Napier's long-term success at Florida or even short-term success. You don't want to lose all 3 of those games. I don't know if you want to lose any of them, frankly.
Mike Huguenin covering the world of college football with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Mike, I go as far back in the memory banks as 1990. I'm 40 years old. I vaguely remember the AstroTurf with Donald Douglas, but honestly, my first real memories were Shane Matthews and Huey Richardson and the 90 Gators and on forward. And going back as far as 90 in my memory, I can never remember a schedule that looked like this on paper. Now, again, will it materialize into how hard it actually looks? We'll see. But here we are in March looking at this thing, Mike. Can you remember a harder schedule in the history of Florida football?
No, that's the thing, though. It is March, and there's a lot of schedules look much tougher 2 or 3 weeks into the season, and a lot of schedules look a lot easier 2 or 3 weeks into the season. I mentioned earlier Florida opens with Miami. Miami right now, I don't know who's starting at running back for Miami. Mark Fletcher has a foot injury. Will he be healthy for the opener? And today, Henry Parrish, the number 2 rusher last year, decided to enter the transfer portal. So, and they already lost Don Chaney to the transfer portal. So, and they're breaking in a new quarterback, and they're trying to find some other receivers. So, but it does look like an extremely difficult schedule for Napier. But again, I think the opening game against Miami is going to tell a lot about both programs. And there's a lot of pressure on Cristobal, a lot of pressure on Napier. I think there's more on Napier in that opening game. It is at home. And I would not want to be he or anybody on his staff if Florida loses the opening game.
Mike, Florida State begins spring ball this week, and look, they're replacing, I think, 18 contributors from last year's team. There's a lot of guys that need to be replaced. Jared Verse, Trey Benson, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, Jordan Travis, and that's just to name a few. But obviously Norvell has done well in recruiting. We know what he's done in the portal. Has Florida State done enough this offseason to replace the great talent that they lost?
I don't think so. I think this is certainly not a team that's going to go 6-6. I would think the floor is a 10-win team. But Uyunglele is a distinct step down from Jordan Travis. He's not nearly as dynamic. He can run the ball, but he's not busting 20-yard runs where he shows off his shiftiness. I think he's more a guy who's going to run 8 or 10 yards and maybe run over a DB. The wide receiver core is a question. I know they brought in a bunch of transfers there. I don't think there's going to be anybody as close to again, I mentioned the word explosive as Keon Coleman. And they brought in Roydale Williams from Alabama at running back. He's not as explosive as Trey Benson. So I think the big play aspect at Florida State, they're going to have to develop that. I think last year they were a big play machine. This year I think it's going to be, instead of having a 55-yard Trey Benson run, maybe it's a 25 or 30-yard run by Toa Feely or Roydale Williams. I think the offensive line, that is Norvell and Alex Atkins have done a great job. 5 years ago, that was an abysmal, you can use any word, that was a horrendous unit. Now it's a solid unit. I think they go 8 or 9 deep. The question is, they got guys who can play multiple positions. I think now, the concern 5 years ago was, do we have 5 guys who can start? And this year it's, okay, who's starting? We got some good depth here. So, there's questions at wide receiver, quarterback, running back, and even tight end. But at least the offensive line looks solid. Defensively, you're right. Jared Verse gone. Braden Fisk gone. The defensive line is I think at least a slight question. How good is Daryl Jackson going to be? The transfer from Miami who had to sit out last year. Interesting to me is you look at their projected starting defensive tackles. Both are from Gadsden County High School. You got Daryl Jackson and Joshua Farmer. And, you mentioned that your football fan then goes back to about 90. Well, mine goes back into the 70s. And back in the 70s, Florida and Florida State and even Miami, they had a bunch of guys from small towns in Florida playing all over the roster. And that's not necessarily the case anymore, though I do think it's interesting that Florida State's projected starting defensive tackles are both from a relatively small school, Gadsden County High. The secondary, they need Fentrell Cypress to step up and play better than he did last year. Shaheem Brown's a solid safety who's going to be his running mate. But again, unlike 4 or 5 years ago where, okay, we need a new starter. Do we have guys who are that good? This year it's, okay, we need a new starter. Who are we going to choose from? At least we have talented players. And that Norvell deserves a ton of credit. His work in the portal has been excellent. His recruiting class the past 2 years have been a lot better than they were his first 2 years and what Taggart brought in, and frankly the last 1 or 2 of the Jimbo Fisher era. So FSU now has talent to work with, and it's up to Norvell and his staff to pick the right guys to play.
A couple of more from Mike Huguenin talking the world of college football with us here on 1010XL. Mike, quickly, the ACC at large, Clemson, Florida State, is it same old, or will anybody challenge them?
Well, I think if you talk to people at Miami, they're very high on their roster, though, again, you wonder about their running back core. And Miami last year was almost 50-50 run pass. They bring in Cam Ward, who threw the ball about 60% of the time at Washington State. They didn't bring him in to hand off the ball 50% of the play. So it's going to be interesting to see how Miami tweaks its offense. I think, the receiving core isn't elite, but I think right now you can look at Miami and say, well, their receivers are better than their running backs. Defensively, Miami needs 2 new safeties, but I think Miami, Clemson, and Florida State they're going to finish 1, 2, 3 in some order. North Carolina is going to take a step back. I don't know what to think about Louisville. They were a massive surprise last year. I think Brom is a good coach. But, they need some portal guys to pay off, including Don Chaney, the Miami transfer at running backs. But I think it is a 3-team race in the ACC, and I'm giving Miami the benefit of the doubt because I assume at some point the fact that they are a talented roster will mean something in a league that does not have a lot of talented rosters.
Back to the SEC as we close out the college football conversation with Georgia. And look, Carson Beck, Mandarin High School product, obviously. A lot of people around these parts are rooting for that young man. Georgia looks very good. What's interesting is Texas is going to get a ton of national love, the newcomer to the SEC. We'll see about Alabama, life after Nick Saban. LSU looks pretty good, obviously. What's your thought at the top of the conference, Mike? Is it Georgia, Texas, or Texas, Georgia?
I think it's Georgia. I'm not sure who this. I think Texas has a solid roster, but they lost 2 stud defensive tackles, and the SEC is a line of scrimmage league, even more so than much more so, frankly, than the Big 12. So that loss is going to be interesting to see how they overcome it. Offensively, there is firepower there. Ewers is back. You expect him to be better than he was last year. You expect a guy to get better every year. But if that's the case, and if you're Georgia, Carson Beck had a phenomenal first season as a starter. What's he going to do this year? So, they're solid at running back. They have a deep offensive line. They got receivers who are solid. Defensively, they're not ever going to have a true fall off. So I think unquestionably going into the season, you got to look at Georgia as the SEC favorite. The second best team, Alabama is sort of a mystery. I'm a huge Kalen DeBoer fan, but he did not bring his he brought his offensive coordinator with him, but Ryan Grubb ended up leaving. You wonder about their offensive line. They lost some key guys up front, and that wasn't that good a unit last year. Talent-wise, it's still a very good roster, but you're also going from Nick Saban, the greatest of all time, to Kalen DeBoer, and that's going to be a switch for the players. So it's going to be a more interesting season than usual, I think, in the SEC this fall. And I think LSU breaking in a new quarterback. What's Texas A&M going to do with a new coach? Can Missouri really be that good again? What's Tennessee? How's Tennessee going to be with Nico at quarterback? So there's a lot of phenomenal storylines in the SEC this year. I didn't even mention Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. He had the best portal season of all. They are spending a lot of NIL money in Oxford, Mississippi.
Mike Huguenin does a great job covering the world of college athletics, primarily college football. He's done it for years. Mike, really enjoyed the conversation. We'll do it again in a couple of months, brother. Thank you as always.
Excellent. Thanks, man.
1010XL takes you behind the microphone.
It's like got this gift of blankness.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Look, I'm not trying to insult you.
The Drill.
Can you not judge me for like 2 seconds?
Mornings on 1010XL.
A new vehicle. Come to Key Buick GMC where we never have markups on our vehicles. In addition, Key Buick GMC is the only Buick GMC dealer with a lifetime powertrain warranty on all new Buicks and GMCs. It's a new year. Time to do some service checkups. Key has oil changes specials on most vehicles plus a tire match guarantee. Please check out our service specials at our website. Go to KeyBuickGMC.com. We're always professional grade on the corner of Southside and Gate. Key Buick. GMC.com.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy, classic wings. Made to order, cooked to perfection. And sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. And, of course, spicy Cajun fried corn. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Baloo for Shinatri Chiropractic. They've helped me get rid of my headaches and pain in my neck and back. Are you suffering from an auto accident? What about TMJ pain? Headaches associated with jaw clenching, grinding of the teeth, or stress-related disorders? Shinatri Chiropractic has a physical therapist on staff for rehabilitation, quality chiropractic care, dry needling, massage, and acupuncture. Call 743-6700 or go to ShinatriDC.com.
It's tournament time, and Best Bet St. Augustine is your winning destination. This month, Best Bet St. Augustine has a full lineup of poker tournaments featuring $160 no-limit hold'em, 6-hour Ironman on Fridays, and weekly no-limit hold'em tournaments with buy-ins ranging from $60 to $100. And don't miss the grand finale, our $300 no-limit hold'em St. Augustine Championship on March 30th with a jaw-dropping $30,000 guarantee. For more information, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
The Guess Who? Rockin' Jacksonville, Thursday, April 11th. Catch the Canadian Hitmakers live at Florida Theater. Rock legends The Guess Who's long-awaited return to Jacksonville. Get your tickets now at Florida Theater box office or floridatheater.com. Don't miss a night of legendary rock classics with The Guess Who. Thursday, April 11th at Florida Theater. Produced by Elko Concerts.
Hey there, Jacksonville. With scorching temperatures just around the corner, it's crucial to ensure your AC is blowing nice and cool. Duck Duck Air Conditioning is here to keep you comfortable all summer long. But don't wait until the heat gets here. Our service techs are ready right now to handle any cooling issues you may have at your home or business. Call Duck Duck AC today at 904-862-6769 to schedule. That's 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning. Online at duckduckac.com.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Dave Binion here with my son Ammon, who is the air duct cleaning manager at Zero Res. So Ammon, you may notice a little rattle in my voice and some puffiness in my eyes. That's because allergy season is coming on. Can Zero Res help?
Yes, your health has a lot to do with the air you breathe. A clean and healthy home begins with clean air. At Zero Res, we can help clean the air in your home by cleaning your air ducts, cleaning the coils in your HVAC units, and fogging the system with a powerful antimicrobial that helps kill and control the growth of microorganisms in your air. We also have options for maintaining your clean air with our excellent inline air purifier and UV lights that will help keep your system clean and healthy. At Zero Res, we are more than just air duct cleaners. We're a clean air specialist.
Have Zero Res air duct specialists out, and right now we'll give you $50 off your air duct cleaning, and while we're at it, we'll give you $50 off your dryer vent cleaning. Zero Res.
Spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
ZeroRec. Zero Res.
Picking here. You know at Zero Res, they love rugs. Fine oil rugs need to be cleaned with the right equipment and careful training. My guy at Zero Res, Gerard, is a certified master rug cleaner and has been cleaning rugs for more than 5 years. Don't trust your fine rugs to anyone. Call Zero Res right now. They are offering a BOGO on rug cleaning. Have Zero Res clean one rug, get a second rug for free. What a great time to get your rugs cleaned. Zero Res, man. Spell it forward, spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Bet on the ball game. Get your money down. Money lines, totals, and parlays. We're cashing tickets all around.
It's baseball betting season, and VSiN's MLB betting guide is a home run for bettors. Download your free special edition of the guide, featuring a betting preview of the Atlanta Braves and Tampa Bay Rays at 1010XL.com. That's 1010XL.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime here on Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 8 o'clock tonight. Take you into the weekend. Coming up towards the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour, my buddy Sean Devaney covered the NBA for years. He's now with Heavy.com, as most NBA teams now are inside 10 games remaining in their regular season. The NBA playoffs will begin, I want to say, in 2.5 weeks is that play-in situation, maybe even less than that. So we are on the doorstep of the NBA postseason. The Orlando Magic hosting the Los Angeles Clippers tonight. Boy, the NBA really gave it to Orlando here in the last week. They put them at home for 8 straight, but that includes Golden State, Sacramento, the Clippers, the Pelicans. I mean, really good teams in the Western Conference. We'll see what Orlando can do tonight with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and James Harden and that crew. Orlando has lost 2 in a row, but we'll talk about the Magic. We'll also talk NBA playoffs with Sean Devaney coming up in about 30 minutes or so. Coming up in less than 10 minutes, Ben Arthur, FoxSports.com and the Fox Sports app. He covers the AFC South. And, yeah, we'll spend some time on Jacksonville, certainly. But I want to talk Tennessee. Well, L'Jarius Sneed, that trade has finally been made official, literally within the last 10 minutes. We all knew it was going to happen, but it's finally official. Both the Chiefs and the Titans post stuff on social media in the last 10 minutes. So Tennessee has given out $105 million in guaranteed money now to Calvin Ridley and L'Jarius Sneed. They also had guys like Lloyd Cushenberry at center, Tony Pollard at tailback, Kenneth Murray at linebacker. The Titans had money, and they spent it. So we'll talk Tennessee, we'll talk Indianapolis, we'll talk Houston as well with Ben Arthur of FoxSports.com and the Fox Sports app. He comes up in less than 15 minutes. Quickly tonight, the Sweet 16 concludes. Huge win for Alabama last night. Huge win for Clemson last night. That's now, imagine this scenario. Los Angeles, California, tomorrow night, right to go to the Final Four. Clemson and Alabama. Boy, this is not football. Surprising that those two teams are still alive. And I would imagine Denmark, the natives out in Los Angeles, got to be pretty fired up for the Crimson Tide and Clemson out there in L.A. But kudos to those two programs. And kudos to you, Denmark. You had Alabama in the Final Four. You might be proven to be Nostradamus tomorrow night.
Yeah, I like a guess. But I mean, Bama's just one of those teams I knew coming into the tournament that if they can get their shots and they can keep going, when they get hot, they're kind of hard to beat. So that's kind of what I bet on, and I fell asleep a little early. I know the game was tight between them and Carolina, and how they get another win? When is it, tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow.
You know what's interesting tonight is the SEC, so many people thought was an awful tournament. It was. It wasn't good. Yet Tennessee now plays Creighton. Tennessee's a win away from the SEC having 25% of the Elite Eight. Tennessee, Creighton tonight. Really good games tonight. Purdue and Gonzaga is tonight. Duke and Houston is tonight. And then NC State, the only double-digit seed left, they play Marquette. So 4 games tonight to round out the Sweet 16. We'll have Elite Eight action, 2 games tomorrow, 2 games on Sunday. And then, of course, the Final Four next week, which we'll dive into. Mark Wise will join us. Others will join us as well to preview the Final Four coming up next week. But back into the National Football League. Let's talk Colts, Texans, Titans, and, of course, Jaguars. The AFC South went from maybe the worst division in football last year to maybe the most compelling division in football coming into 2024. Ben Arthur covers that division for Fox Sports and foxsports.com, and he joins us next to break down the last 3 weeks. By the way, you look at every division in football, AFC South might have been the most active. Think about the free agents that were brought in, from Eric Armstead to Calvin Ridley to Daniil Hunter, Tony Pollard, Gabe Davis, Mitch Morse, Joe Mixon. Crazy additions made in the AFC South. Let's talk about all of it next with Ben Arthur. It's a Friday night edition of Hacker After Dark with Dylan Denmark, the hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
The past comes to life in the present.
And the Jaguars are going to the playoffs.
The memories bridge the gap to the future.
From 27-0 to win the game.
Experience the most play-by-play sports on 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Did you hear what's happening? Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet are spring cleaning. New inventory on the ground means we need to make more room. Take advantage of huge savings on thousands of vehicles priced to sell. New and pre-owned prices have been reduced, and all sales associates have been instructed to give maximum value on all trades. But you better hurry. The best deals go first. Head to Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville to take advantage of our spring cleaning sale. We're here to wow you.
Mia here, and let me tell you about one of our area's best resorts, the Sawgrass Marriott Golf Resort and Spa. The Sawgrass Marriott is not only a great destination for a vacation, but it is also a great destination for dining on the Florida's First Coast. 1912 Ocean Bar and Rooftop is now open on Ponte Vedra Boulevard, featuring Ponte Vedra's only oceanfront rooftop bar and lounge. Serving finely crafted cocktails and delectable eats, it's open daily from 4 to 10 with complimentary valet parking.
Get ready for an unforgettable musical journey with the incredible Claire Vandiver at Players Grill Mandarin. Influenced by indie rock to modern pop, Claire's unique sound is a breath of fresh air. Come listen to Claire Vandiver Friday, March 29th at 8 p.m. Players Grill, where the neighborhood meets.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist is now offering ortho walk-in appointments. If you have an immediate need for orthopedic care, contact Southeast Orthopedic Specialist immediately. Avoid ERs and urgent care waiting rooms. For more information, go to se-ortho.com.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On March 29, 1982, UNC beats Georgetown in the NCAA men's tournament. Future Hall of Famer James Worthy is MVP.
Are you a meat lover searching for quality cuts? Southern Steer Butcher uses a vacuum tumbler to marinate and tenderize our chicken and world-famous steak tips.
Now open in Ortega. For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
Ball forward, take your base.
The only thing worse than a pitcher running out of gas on the mound is your old phone running out of storage for your photos in the stands.
Goodbye, home run!
Switch to Verizon and get a great deal on a new iPhone 15 Pro with tons of storage for all the ballpark pics you want. Just trade in your iPhone, any model, in any condition, so you'll feel like you're winning.
even when your team's not. Trade in any iPhone in any condition for a great deal on iPhone 15 Pro with unlimited Ultimate. And get iPad and Apple Watch SE with eligible service plan. Only on Verizon.
Let's go! Let's go! Don't miss the Jacksonville Sharks' first home game against the IFL defending champion Bay Area Panthers next Saturday, April 6th at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Kickoff 7 p.m. Let's go! Let's show them what we got.
Let's go!
Tickets as low as $15. You can't find Saturday family, affordable fun anywhere else. Call 904-621-0700 or go to jacksharks.com. Dust off your boots, grab your cowboy hat for Western night. Join us at 5 p.m. for Shark Fest, every home game located outside the arena for our pre-game party. Help us rock the take as we roll out the 2023 NAL Championship Band. Let's go! Don't miss opening night of the season next Saturday, April 6th, 7 o'clock in the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Be a part of indoor football fun and exciting non-stop action. For tickets as low as $15, call 904-621-0700. Don't forget your cowboy hats. Let's go!
It's March basketball. That means a host of top teams will be competing for the NCAA title. When it comes to commercial painters, there's also some healthy competition out there. Jason Parker with Performance Painting. To help you know the right questions to ask any painter competing for your business this year, visit performancepaintingjacks.com. Or if you're ready for a friendly quote, give us a call and ask about our free pressure wash promotion for your next project. Performance Painting, quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance painting.
Frank Franzi here for Stanley Pools. There's a reason so many of my friends and our listeners have had Stanley Pools build their pools and now maintain their pools, because Stanley Pools truly cares about their customers. Stanley Pools is locally owned and has been serving our community for 35 years. For all of your pool needs, call Stanley Pools at 269-7277. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools. 269-7277, or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com.
ET here, and it's time for the Taste of Golf at TPC Sawgrass, April 24th. Join me for fine cuisine from chefs from the top golf clubs in our area, craft cocktails, games, and unique auction items. This is one of the most charitable events in our area. Come network with a sophisticated audience who is passionate about golf and its values, all while impacting the youth in our community. All proceeds benefit First Tee North Florida. For tickets, go to tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The NFL meeting is going on down in Orlando. A lot of news coming out of there, some rule changes. We got to talk to the head coach, Doug Peterson, earlier today. And you look at the landscape of the AFC South, boy, it's really changed a lot for all four teams here in the last couple of weeks. With that, Ben Arthur of Fox Sports and the Fox Sports app. He covers the AFC South for Fox Sports, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ben, how you doing?
Doing well, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Ben, always appreciate it, man. It's been about a month since you and I talked, and when we talked about a month ago, there were a lot of unanswered questions regarding really every AFC South team, and good gracious, man, I'm not sure if there was a more compelling division in free agency than what we saw in the AFC South. Gigantic changes in Tennessee, big changes in Houston, a lot of changes in Jacksonville, and Indianapolis kept a lot of their own guys. What have you made of the last couple of weeks in the division?
Yeah, I think I don't want to call it like an arms race by any means in the AFC South, but I think what we're seeing in this division is that it's growing. Like it's ascending. We have some competitive teams now, several playoff contenders. We obviously know what the Texans were able to do last season. The Colts, despite all the issues they had, and Anthony Richardson only playing like 170 snaps, they were one game outside the playoffs. So they're certainly looking at winning a division title in 2024. And then the Jags obviously don't have a great taste in their mouth still about that collapse. And so that they still feel like they're right in the mix there. And then the Titans, as you alluded to, I mean, they've certainly been the team that's kind of had the biggest makeover, and I think it's gotten to a point now where, I think we have to start looking at them more seriously. I think there was a point earlier in this offseason where it seemed like we were just maybe focusing on the other three teams, but I think you look at the additions they've made, and if Will Levis makes that step, I mean, that they're going to be right in the mix as well. So I think ultimately the biggest takeaway is this is going to be one of the most fascinating divisions in the NFL in the upcoming year.
Ben, you look at what the Jaguars did, right? I mean, a new starting center, a new starting defensive tackle. It looks like a brand new nickel from what Doug Peterson said earlier today. A brand new return man, a new wide receiver with 27 career touchdowns, a new backup quarterback, probably a new kicker. I mean, they did a lot. I mean, what's been your thought on Jacksonville here in the last couple of weeks?
I think the biggest thing with the Jags is just how they've really reinforced like both lines, both sides of the ball. Like we know kind of how they got bullied at the end of last season. You talked defensively, just how teams were able to run all over them, most notably what Derrick Henry did in the last game of the season, which, which kind of concluded the collapse, right? Making sure that they wouldn't get into the postseason, and going out and getting an Armstead to kind of pair with what Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen can do on the outside. And then when you look at the other line, the offensive line, and just the struggles, the well-documented struggles that they've had in short yardage situations, and then you look at the move that they did in bringing in Mitch Morse, a guy who's very experienced, obviously has started a lot of games in this league, has played with a lot of great quarterbacks. He kind of solidifies that spot. I know Doug Peterson didn't want to go out and say that he's taking Luke Fortner's job, but I mean, that's essentially what it is for the upcoming season. And then I think just the trend with just re-signing Ezra Cleveland, right, and then restructuring Brandon Sheriff's deal to make sure he's still around for this upcoming season. I think the sense just being that they feel like they have the guys they want up front. It's just that the continuity and staying healthy, that they want to see that improve. And so kind of running it back, we'll kind of see if that's the right move, right? But I think with adding Morse to kind of the guards that they have in place, and Anton Harrison should take another step forward. Cam Robinson is still kind of more unclear at this point, but when you talk about like kind of the biggest theme of what the Jags have done, I think you have to talk about the trenches on both sides of the ball, looking to get more physical, more competitive in that aspect of the game, and yeah, I guess we'll kind of see how it turns out this year.
Ben Arthur, FoxSports.com and the Fox Sports app, covering the AFC South. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ben, I like the Gabe Davis signing. To me, this has a lot of feels of Christian Kirk 2 years ago, where the people in Jacksonville like it. Nationally, it's probably getting panned a little bit. And Kirk, came in and did what he did, and now no one's really talking about the Christian Kirk deal any longer. I think something similar may happen with Gabe Davis. I'm curious, though, a guy that covers the division, what did you make of the Gabe Davis signing, and what's your thought on maybe some of the negative feedback it's receiving nationally?
Yeah, I like the move. I mean, I think I would have liked it more if they still had Calvin Ridley too. I think with Gabe Davis, like you still need another wide receiver at this point, and whether it's at 17 or in the second round, they'll probably draft a receiver. And I think for their case, like they really need to make sure it's a hit, right? Because Calvin Ridley was the only guy who was consistently available for them. And so that's kind of like my concern, right? It's not necessarily with Gabe Davis. Like I think with some people nationally, it's not necessarily Gabe Davis himself. It's just in who they lost, right? In losing Calvin Ridley. And we know he was inconsistent at times last year, but still 1,000-yard receiver, 8 touchdowns. never missing even a practice, let alone a game. So I think at least a portion of kind of like the detractors as far as nationally maybe come from that perspective. But in terms of like a talent, a scheme fit, I mean, I love it. Obviously he's a deep threat. I think he's going to be able to stretch defenses. He's going to, I think Trevor Lawrence is going to love throwing to him. He made some really big plays and some big moments for Buffalo. So I like the move. And I think at that price that they got him for, I don't remember the exact details off the top of my head, but I think it was a good contract for them. I think for me, it's just that they need another receiver because they had so many guys miss time, and Zay Jones, I mean, how much times he's missed. And so I'm just not super optimistic about their overall wide receiver outlook just because of the issues they had last year. But I think Gabe Davis is a great add, and in terms of some of what they're losing, by losing Calvin Ridley, I think they get some of that, and then plus like that explosive, kind of outside threat in Gabe Davis. I think that's kind of what he brings to the table for them.
Let's get to Tennessee. Again, Ben Arthur here with us at FoxSports.com and the Fox Sports app. Tennessee had a lot of money to spend, Ben, and they spent it with Jarius Sneed via trade, Lloyd Cushenberry, Tony Pollard, and obviously Calvin Ridley. And I tip my cap to them. They had more money to spend than almost anybody, and they've done that. I think they've improved their roster. But at the end of the day, Ridley can say what he wants, that he feels 25, and that all sounds great, right? But he is going to be 30 in December, and you give that guy $50 million guaranteed, $93 million total. I was pretty surprised by that contract. Certainly it was too rich for Jacksonville's blood, but I guess the good thing from the Titans with DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley, even though they're older wide receivers, you're going to find out what you have in Will Levis pretty quick.
Yeah, I think that's the objective of this season for the Titans is to kind of figure out, is Will Levis your franchise quarterback or isn't he? And I think they've assembled a team to this point to where you're going to be able to find out one way or the other. Like Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tony Pollard, Lloyd Cushenberry, as you said, that they still need a left tackle, and that's a really big piece of it. The right tackle spot is kind of uncertain. They're still filling out the roster, and we don't know how Brian Callahan is going to be as a head coach at this point, but I like what they've done. And so it's going to be kind of fascinating to see. Like, I think, like I was saying at the beginning, like I truly believe that they can be competitive in the AFC South with these other three teams. And look, like you talked about Calvin Ridley, and yeah, it was definitely an overpay. I mean, but I think for the Titans' perspective, number one, kind of as we're talking about, you need to figure out if Levis is your guy, and if you have two kind of number one caliber type receivers, I think you're going to figure out pretty quickly. And then number two, I mean, I think we need to remember that Calvin Ridley missed just so much time, right? Like he missed almost 2 years, and he comes back to a new team, new quarterback, new scheme, new everything, and doesn't miss any practices, and still puts up 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. And the age thing is certainly a factor. As you said, he turns 30 coming up, soon, like in the 2024 season. But I think there's a lot of reason to be optimistic. And you think about just like this window the Titans have to figure out if Will Levis is their guy. Like I think just because of the flexibility you have with Levis being on that rookie contract, you can take gambles like this, right? Like if Levis was in like year 3 or year 4, and you're still kind of having these questions, and then you kind of throw the bag at a player like Calvin Ridley, I mean, you would maybe look at it differently, right? But I think with kind of the luxury of the position that they're in, I think that they're equipped to kind of take on this risk. And then also with the Titans' previous regime trading A.J. Brown, I mean, they needed a kind of they needed another guy. I mean, that was one of the biggest mistakes in franchise history, and they just needed to bring in another guy. And so I don't really fault Rand Carthon for essentially overpaying for Calvin Ridley. So I definitely kind of see it from their perspective.
Quickly, Ben, as we begin to wrap up, Houston brings in Joe Mixon and Danielle Hunter. You have to like what they did. And as far as Indianapolis, they really didn't bring in all that much, but they kept their own, from Kenny Moore to Grover Stewart to certainly Michael Pittman. You get Anthony Richardson back. A quick take on both Indy and Houston.
Yeah, I think with Indy, I mean, I think it just says how much they view like Anthony Richardson, and that they view him to be the difference maker, right? Because they haven't really made any changes. They've given over $180 million in contracts to their own players. And so you plug in Anthony Richardson, and obviously from their sake that they want him to be on the field, play more than 170 snaps. And I think that they're very justified in believing that if he's available and healthy and takes kind of that natural progression, makes that natural growth, you can certainly be a better team than you were last year. So I could certainly see their thought process, but it goes back to Anthony, right? Like, is he going to be healthy? Are there going to be kind of the rookie hiccups because he didn't really have much of a rookie season? And then in terms of Houston, I really love what they've done. I know a lot of people have said that they've kind of like won this offseason in some regards. Like, I think I've covered the NFL long enough to like not get too caught up in like splashy offseason moves, but you have to like what they've done. Like on defense, like Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. together, man, that could be a special edge rusher tandem. I like the Azeez Al-Shaair move and Danico Autry. Like, that defensive front is really solid, and I think they've made some good investments in the secondary at low cost, kind of high upside. But I'm still not completely sold on what they've done for the offense. Like, Joe Mixon, I know, has been productive, but I'm not sure how much of an upgrade that it's going to be for the run game. So I don't know. We'll kind of see, and there's still plenty of time until the season, but that's kind of my two cents on those two teams.
Yeah, it's been a crazy time in the AFC South, and again, you and I had this conversation about a month ago, and it's even more prevalent now. From maybe the most boring, what is the worst division in football, that was at least the narrative 12 months ago, to now maybe the most intrigue, right? The most excitement coming into 2024 with Jacksonville, Houston, Tennessee, and, of course, Indianapolis. Ben Arthur covers all of them for FoxSports.com and the Fox Sports app. Ben, thank you very much, man. I certainly appreciate it. We'll do it again probably right after the draft, and we'll see where the dust is settled with these four teams.
Sounds good, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Super moments.
This is the play of the game right here.
Super games.
Everyone wants to be a part of NFL history.
Superstars.
He is a difference maker now.
On the Super Station.
You will be wowed.
1010X. 1010XL.
At BetUS.com, why do we care about a college basketball tournament every March? Where bets mean everything? Because it's March Mania, where glory triumphs and anything can happen. Where underdogs can make or break our hearts. Because it's March Mania, where brackets are broken and buzzers are beaten. And there's always been a sportsbook there for you and your best buds. Because it's March Mania. BetUS has been with you through 30 marches together, and like any good six-man, we've always had your back. And because it's March, BetUS.com is matching the mania with a mad offer. Back, 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, and the extra confidence that comes from a 10% gambler's insurance. Because anything can happen during March Mania. BetUS Sportsbook and Casino, where the game begins. Get started today.
Top Dog Tavern is your gathering place for family and friends, offering something for everyone. Want a delicious meal served with a smile? We have you covered. Shareable appetizers, hot and crispy wings, juicy tavern burgers, fresh salads, plus a large craft beer selection. And there is nowhere better to watch all the big games than on our multiple TVs. Enjoy great food, cold drinks, and good times at Top Dog Tavern. located in Bartram Park off Old St. Augustine Road.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser share the huddle with Freddie T.
Bring it in!
Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins.
Fred Taylor, he's a candidate to go the distance.
And B&B Fuel and Lubricants on 1010XL.
Ever wonder how you can transform your living spaces into captivating works of art? At First Coast Lighting and Fans, they offer a huge selection of high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Visit their showroom on Phillips Highway at the Avenues and step into a world of quality without compromise. Discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes and let them help you experience the transformation from average to extraordinary. At First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Certainly facing challenging economic times. I can't speak for all of us, but for me, comforting to know my money is in good hands with ITP Partners. Ticket here for ITP Partners, Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. I'll admit it, I don't understand a ton about the economy. Higher interest rates, 401ks, but I do know as I move closer to retirement, I continue to watch my money grow. Thanks to Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, and Reed Wingate. Get in the game, guys. ITP Partners, always there to help. For more info, Chris at ITPPartners.com or call 904-312-9751.
It's Kubota Orange Days, your golden chance to score a deal that will make your neighbors green with envy. Shop the year's best selection of Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and utility vehicles, including the #1 selling compact tractor in the USA. And get the year's best deals, like 0% APR for 84 months or up to $3,300 off L3302 tractors. Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
Coastal Equipment.
There are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and if you stay in your home long enough, a new roof. Picking here for our friends at Lockhart Roofing. Nobody better in Jacksonville. How do I know? They are a local certified Master Elite contractor, and that means they have a GAF Master Elite warranty. That's the best in the roofing industry. In this day and age, don't settle for cheaper discount roofers. Lockhart Roofing has been here for decades. They aren't going anywhere. Call my friends at Lockhart Roofing, 994-3851. That's 994-3851. Lockhart Roofing, Jacksonville's best for Jacksonville people.
Good people drink good beer, and great people drink Mocama, a refined craft brewery out of Fernandina Beach, Florida. Mocama Beer Company brings sophisticated flagship beers, including Cosmico IPA and Dune Garden Lager, to the greater Jacksonville area. Whether you're hitting the water with friends or enjoying a backyard barbecue, Mocama has the perfect beer for your summer activities. Look for us wherever great beers are sold and find your Mocama.
At Dr. Rooter, we understand plumbing issues can be a real inconvenience for your building or business, and we're here to help. We can handle all kinds of plumbing jobs, including broken pipes, clogged drains, line jetting, installing water heaters, and full repipes. Need a camera inspection or a smoke test? Yes, Duck Rooter does that too. Plus, our lift station services include inspections, monitoring, cleaning, and repairs. When you're stuck, call the Duck, 904-862-6769. That's 904-862-6769.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you be active, reach weight loss goals, and find your inner strength while you connect with your community. Family memberships at the Y include unlimited group exercise classes, childcare while you work out, and youth sports participation. It's easy to join the Y and affordable for all. Plus, the Y is a great place to meet a new circle of friends. Visit the Y near you or online at fcymca.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The NBA regular season, well, it's coming down the home stretch. Most teams have between 10 and 12 games remaining. The NBA playoffs are just a couple of weeks away, and at bare minimum, the Orlando Magic have clinched a spot in the play-in tournament. They certainly have bigger aspirations than that. Let's talk about all of it with my buddy Sean Devaney. He does a great job covering the NBA for Heavy.com, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ryan. How are you?
Sean, we're good. Thank you for the time. All right, the last time you and I talked, Orlando was starting to get hot. Boy, and they got really hot, Sean, after the All-Star break. One of the hottest teams in the league. They've, at bare minimum, clinched a spot at the play-in tournament. Just your thoughts on Jamal Mosley and what he's done down there with this Orlando Magic club.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously it's a young club, so that had a certain cap on what its expectations could be for this year. It's been a team that hasn't had a lot of success, obviously, in the last few years. They haven't been over 500 since 2019, and even then they were 2 games over 500. So this is a team that pretty much since the departure of Dwight Howard, 12 years ago, has really had its struggles, and in a franchise that has had a hard time finding an identity. Well, they seem to have found it now. They seem to have found a basis for a team that they can start filling in some pieces. And they're still very flawed. I mean, like I said, this is a very young team. They don't really have a point guard. They sort of operate point free. Run a lot through Paolo Banchero, obviously, and that's sort of become their identity. But the good news about that is that it leaves you a pretty clear hole to fill going forward. That what you need to do, whether it's in the draft or in free agency. You know what you need to fill, and that's sort of where the Orlando Magic are. They've got so much talent. So much young talent that they've been able to take advantage of that, and take advantage of some opportunities in a fairly weak Eastern Conference, and here they are possibly looking at not only making the playoffs, but with a pretty good chance of even getting a home court advantage in the first round.
Sean, they went 22 wins 2 years ago to 34 wins last year. And then this year, and look, I'm as diehard a Magic fan as you'll find, but even my expectations were, can we make the play-in? To me, the play-in was a success. Anything else would be a failure. The fact that they're a game out of the 3 seed, now with that being said, they're only 3 games up from being in the play-in, so the margin of error is small. But are they a year ahead of schedule, perhaps, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't think they were necessarily expecting, and we talked about it last year, about them possibly looking at the free agent market in 2023 and making the move that could push them ahead and make them into a playoff team. They opted not to do that, not to get a guy like a Grant Williams or Gary Trent. There's some of the names that had been thrown out there. They opted not to do that. They continue to build the young core, and they'll be in position perhaps to add somebody next summer. But yeah, I don't think that they thought they were quite ready for this run. I certainly didn't. You certainly didn't. I think they've also, just to throw a little bit of cold water on the whole thing. They've been helped by the fact that the East has had a rough go of it here. The Knicks have had a lot of injuries. Miami has had a ton of injuries. You've got obviously Joel Embiid out. So you have a lot of teams that you might have expected to be ahead of the Magic that haven't been able to get any traction this year. So you got to keep it in that context. But still, for them to be sitting here at 42 wins, certain to be over 500, obviously, that's a huge accomplishment for a franchise that was not expected to take this step as quickly as they have.
Sean Devaney, Heavy.com, talking NBA with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Sean, you cover the league on a national basis, and I'm curious, nationally. Obviously, we here around the Orlando area know how good Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are. But do you think maybe they get the due that they've earned nationally, or are they kind of a forgotten duo here in Central Florida?
Yeah, no, I don't think they've gotten the amount of attention that they would if they were in other markets, no question. But when you play in a smaller market, you do have to do a little bit more to earn that, and I'd say that they haven't yet earned it. They've got to go to the playoffs and make a mark. I mean, like I say, they have a chance to not just get to the playoffs, but they have a home court advantage, and perhaps even advance into the second round. At that point, I think you'd start to see them get a little more attention. I can compare him to the Sacramento Kings last year, where you could say that Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox didn't get their due, but they got to the playoffs. They finally had that breakthrough. They wind up losing that series, but they give Golden State a good series, and those guys sort of really made their name there. And you can imagine that with both Wagner and Banchero here. Certainly, look, I really like both of those guys, but Banchero, what he does for that team, like I said, they don't really have a point guard, but they don't necessarily need one because you can run so much through him. He's so much fun to watch, and hopefully soon more people will get the opportunity to see just how good this guy is.
Last thought on Orlando, and then we'll branch out. We've obviously been talking about Banchero and Wagner, but you look at the other guys on the roster, Sean, Jalen Suggs, Wendell Carter, Gary Harris. Those are the starters when healthy. But then I go to that bench, man, and you don't have to be a diehard NBA fan to know the name Joe Ingles, Jonathan Isaac, Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, Mo Wagner. I mean, you go down to Anthony Black, Goga Batadze, Caleb Houston. You just keep rattling them off. I mean, 1 to 10 or even 1 to 12 as a roster, I would think Orlando's as deep as any team maybe in the league.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I think that's been one of the keys to their success. Now, you start to make the transition to the postseason, and you're probably not going to play 10 guys. So, you really want to have it sort of honed in terms of who you're going to play. And I'm curious to see some of the decisions that Jamal makes with those picks, because obviously you're going to have Cole Anthony out there, but how much do you play a guy like Anthony Black, who has been very, very good, obviously, Ingles, and you mentioned the whole list. He's going to have to tighten up that rotation. I'm curious to see how they handle that and where they go, but yeah, there's no question that the depth has been there. They've also, and you know this as well as anyone, Ryan, they have been a cursed organization when it comes to injuries the last few years. They've been relatively healthy this year. They're kind of getting a little bit of payback for all those years where they were leading the league in man games lost, as they call it. They're the scales are balancing out a little bit more in Orlando's favor. So it's been good to see. Certainly in this last run, obviously Wendell Carter Jr. is a guy that you worry about with injuries over the course of his career. But in this last run that they've had, the last couple of months where they've been playing so well, he's been out there, and that's been such a key for them.
Couple of more for Sean Devaney of Heavy.com talking NBA with us here on 1010XL. Sean, the middle of the Eastern Conference, 4 games separate 3 through 8, which is just insane to think about. Mm-hmm. But when you have Philadelphia, New York, Cleveland, Indiana, Miami, and Orlando, how do you assess what's going on in the middle of the East?
Yeah, I mean it's really a battle of attrition, because you have a lot of teams dealing with with a lot of pretty big injuries. I mentioned Joel Embiid, obviously. He's the real key, and we might not see him back until the postseason. So, that's obviously a huge blow for Philadelphia to have lost him. And then you have the Knicks, who have really done everything they can to try to stay afloat with Julius Randle out. They've had OG Anunoby out. So they've really had a hard time. Of course, the Heat have had just about everybody out on and off over the course of the season. So it's probably a miracle that they're 7 games over 500 as we sit today. So it's really been sort of a battle of attrition with a lot of those teams. Like I said, that has presented the Magic with an opportunity, which, to their credit, they have taken. To see Cleveland kind of coming back to the pack, it's conceivable that Orlando could get up to number 3. But it's really been a season that for a lot of those teams has been defined by the injuries and how they've been able to manage them or not manage them. For instance, in the case of Philadelphia, for instance.
Sean, can anybody in the Eastern Conference do anything with the Celtics, or are they going to run away with this thing in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean the Celtics' biggest opponent is the Celtics. I mean they're really, and that's been the case really for the last couple of years with them in the playoffs, is that they have a tendency to beat themselves. That they get into hero ball, and you get Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown switching possessions and not really sharing the ball. I don't see that happening this year. You've got such a deep starting five. Derek White has been fantastic. Drew Holiday has willingly sacrificed in order to try to help this team, but he's been fantastic. And of course, Kristaps Porzingis has been healthy and very, very good for them. So that starting five, there's really nobody in the NBA, even the defending champion Nuggets, who could match that starting five that Boston has.
Final moments, Sean Devaney, Heavy.com. Sean, as we go out west, boy, it's a free-for-all, man. I mean, at the top, you got some unexpected teams from Oklahoma City to Minnesota. I don't know if people expected the Clippers to be as good as they've turned out. You mentioned Denver, but the reward for all those teams, obviously not Denver, they're probably used to it, but if you're Oklahoma City or Minnesota, you scratch, you fight, and you claw to be this good and to have a high seed in the West, and your reward might be Golden State or the Lakers or Phoenix in round one. I mean, the Western Conference playoffs are going to be nuts.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of teams that nobody wants to play who disappointed during the regular season. So, whether it's the Warriors or the Lakers or the Phoenix Suns, who are just, barely above the play-in at this point. I mean, you could get a Warriors-Suns play-in on one hand, and then a Mavericks and Lakers play-in on the other. And those are four teams that might have been considered championship contenders to start the season. So it's going to be a really tough slog in that Western Conference. I think it all bodes pretty well for the Nuggets. Even if they get a difficult first round against whoever wins whoever gets the 8th seed out of the play-in tournament, they could have a challenging opponent. They could face the Warriors or the Suns there in the first round, but I think that's okay for Denver. I think that the way things has played out in the Western Conference favors a team that has some continuity, that has played together, that has won together, like the Nuggets. So I still think, as much as the Celtics are favored in the East, I think the Nuggets are probably equally favored in that Western Conference.
Out of Phoenix, Golden State, and the Lakers, who could make the biggest run? Who would be the biggest problem for the top teams?
But, I think that you'd have to say the Suns. It's going to be a boom or bust situation for them because they've got so much talent. They just haven't played together, so they haven't had any chance to form some chemistry. They haven't had any chance to kind of get things together and really see how they can play and learn each other. But with the talent level that they have, there's a chance that they could pull it together in the postseason and make their run there. It's very hard to do that. We don't usually see teams do that, but the talent is there. That would be the team that certainly scares me the most if I'm the Nuggets or any other team in the West.
Sean Devaney of Heavy.com. Sean, final question: is it as simple as Denver and Boston? I mean, it seems to be that simple. Although in the NBA, we've certainly learned over the years, simple does not always mean correct, but as we stand right now, Denver, Boston, that's what you're thinking?
Yeah, I am. I think that if you're looking for a little bit of a dark horse, I think the Clippers are a team that you've got to watch out for. They don't play great defense, but they can play such incredible offense, and it doesn't really matter. That's a team that you've really got to look out for. And I wouldn't write off the Bucks. It's been obviously a rough year for them, firing the coach and not the greatest of introductions with Doc Rivers coming in there. But they played much better lately. We know what their talent level is, and if they go up against the Celtics, that's really the only team the Celtics are going to face in the East where they don't have the best player. That Giannis will be the best player on the floor, better than Jason Tatum, better than Jaylen Brown. So you'd still have to give the Bucks a fighting chance against the Celtics. So if you're looking for some dark horses, I'd say Milwaukee and the Clippers are the dark horses. But other than that, it's Celtics and Nuggets sort of head and shoulders above everybody else.
Sean, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, about Heavy.com and the NBA coverage over there on the website.
Yeah, heavy.com. We've got the whole NBA covered and lots of other sports too. It's been a good time over there.
Sean Devon, he does a terrific job covering the NBA, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Sean, really appreciate it. Hopefully Orlando can get into round one of the postseason. If they do, man, we'll be dialing your phone hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Okay, sounds good, Ryan. Thank you.
And thank you to Sean Devaney, Heavy.com, for joining us tonight to talk a little NBA as we are winding down the NBA regular season, man. The playoffs are, 2.5 weeks away? Most teams have roughly between 9 and 10 games left in their regular seasons. Orlando looks very good to at least be in the play-in. They've already clinched that. We'll see if they can clinch a top 6 spot in the East to avoid the play-in. The Miami Heat up here, they're going to be in the play-in at least. They have more of an issue getting out of the play-in than Orlando does. They're 3 back of the Magic with only about 10 games to go. So we'll see if Miami can rework some magic, right? They were in the play-in last year, I believe, and they ultimately went all the way to the conference finals. So a lot of NBA talk as we come down the home stretch here. And again, the NBA playoffs should be a heck of a lot of fun, and they begin in about 2.5 weeks. Well, that'll just about do it. It has been a very busy Friday night and a very busy week here on Hacker After Dark, and we certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank tonight. Again, Sean Devaney, Heavy.com, covering the National Basketball Association. Thank you to Ben Arthur of FoxSports.com and the Fox Sports app. He covers the AFC South. Certainly enjoyed talking with Ben, not only about the Jaguars, but about the changes in the last couple of weeks with the Titans, the Colts, and, of course, the Houston Texans. Thank you to Damian Parson, the Draft Network. We are now 27 days away from the NFL Draft. The Jaguars have 5 picks in the top 116. Always enjoy talking draft with Damian, certainly focusing a lot on the wide receiver position and on the corner position, as I think if you poll most Jaguar fans, most of you would say that's the direction you believe they're going and that they should go, at least in the early rounds, at wide receiver and at defensive back. And Mike Huguenin, the man is an absolute college football encyclopedia. He's covered the game for years, and Florida State, Georgia, Miami, all in the midst of spring practice, and we appreciate Mike taking time out for us here on Hacker After Dark. We will be back tomorrow, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's the weekend. Enjoy yourself. We'll be back Monday beginning at 8 o'clock, and we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the Hacker Ryan Green, and again, Jacksonville, thank you for not only spending your Friday evening with us, but your entire week with us here on Hacker After Dark. And as always, we cannot tell you enough how much we appreciate it. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely fantastic remainder of your Friday evening and a great weekend. And we will do it all over again Monday night right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Dan Hicken.
We've been through a lot together. You know that?
Jeff Prosser.
You sure have, you son of a gun. You've been a true public servant. You can feel right proud of yourself. You know that?
Mornings on 1010XL.
You're not going to cry, are you? I mean, you're so emotional, high-strung and everything.
Fine, I'm fine. There are only a few things the government does well, and processing passports is not one of them. Hello, it's Congressman Aaron Bean, and taking care of constituents in Northeast Florida is a top priority. If you need help with that passport, the VA, Social Security, or any federal agency, call my office, 904-557